This is the Ford GT being driven on the Laguna Seca track in iRacing, the online racing simulator MMO RPG. It's actually not an RPG, but they should add RPG elements, like chicks in battle armor with blue hair fighting robots. Just a suggestion. Even without that feature, the Laguna Seca track featured here is the best looking one I've seen in any racing game to date. And hopefully you've watched all of these CGR macro reviews of Laguna Seca featured in other driving games like Gran Turismo 3, 4, 5, and Need for Speed Shift. For absolute realism and challenge, you go with this one. I'm driving without any assists or anything, and the hardest thing for me is braking. I'm used to ABS. And I'm also used to Gran Turismo 3, where I would just rocket over the corkscrew at about 190. But that trick doesn't work in iRacing. While there are some assists that you can turn on to get used to the iRacing driving experience, I haven't actually played with those yet. When you're playing with no assists, the game is incredibly challenging compared to the arcade-style racing games with ABS or the soft racing tires, quote-unquote. The ones that stick to the road like glue. You've got to be careful with the corners in this game, and it's a lot of fun and challenging. I think the detail featured in the Laguna Seca track speaks for itself, and let's watch the rest of the lap, and then I'll talk a bit more about iRacing during the replay. Alright, a new lap record. Let's look at the equipment that I'm using to record this review. A play seat, because you'll want to use a wheel to play this game, and the wheel has to be attached to something. It should be a play seat. This is the Driving Force GT wheel from Logitech. Here's the replay, and since iRacing is an a la carte game, the Ford GT and Laguna Seca track are purchased after you've signed up for your membership with iRacing. It is a massively multiplayer online racing game, where the main feature is driving against other people in races on real-world tracks after you qualify, and the races take place at set times, and the experience is cordial and professional. So think the opposite of Modern Warfare. I've spent most of my time in iRacing just driving on the tracks in a time trial mode, getting a feel for the cars and the iRacing style, which is different from what I'm used to. I'm used to playing the Gran Turismo series, which I also love. They're both excellent games. What's the big difference? Well, there's quite a few differences. With Gran Turismo 5, for instance, you get a lot of cars, a lot of tracks, and you get multiplayer, of course. With iRacing, you have to buy the cars and tracks separately, but the actual race features are far more advanced, and the experience is meant to be more realistic in every way. There's actually so many features in iRacing that require a lot of time to qualify for and get into. I've had a hard time showing all of that. It's a gigantic game, and you can learn more about it at iRacing.com. Well, it's meant to be a never-ending racing game, and they do add new cars and tracks from time to time. So some of the cars available are the Ford GT featured here, Mustang, Corvette, and some F1 cars. If you'd really like to challenge yourself. We're watching some replays of the Laguna Seca laps here. Let's finish up the review with some silly music like usual, and marvel at the beauty of Laguna Seca in iRacing.